I never expected my life to take such an unexpected turn. It all started when I was at my lowest, fresh from a heartbreak that left me questioning everything about love. I had sworn off relationships, convinced that trusting someone again was a mistake I couldn't afford. But then, he came along, Arjun, a 20-year-old with a confidence and charm that didn't match his age. I met him at a cafe, a random encounter that felt almost scripted by fate. I was sitting alone, lost in thought, stirring my coffee absent-mindedly when he approached me. "Mind if I join you?" he asked with a smile that held no hesitation. I looked up, surprised by his boldness, and before I knew it, we were talking like old friends. There was something different about him. Unlike the men I had known, he wasn't playing games or trying to impress me with rehearsed lines. He listened, really listened. His eyes held a sincerity that made me forget the voice in my head warning me against this. "You deserve to be happy," he said, as if he already knew my struggles. I laughed it off, brushing away the thought that someone so young could understand the weight of my past. But he was persistent. Days turned into weeks, and our conversations became a regular part of my life. He would text me good morning, ask about my day, and send me little notes that made me smile. I felt a warmth I hadn't experienced in a long time. At first, I reminded myself to be cautious. The age gap was there, undeniable. But every time I brought it up, he had the same response: "Age is just a number. Feelings are real." And I wanted to believe him. He had this effortless way of making me feel special. He noticed the little things, how I took my coffee, the way I tucked my hair behind my ear when I was nervous, the songs I played when I was lost in thought. It felt good to be seen, to be appreciated. My friends warned me, reminding me that young men often chase excitement, not commitment. But Arjun was different, or so I thought. He spoke about his dreams, his ambitions, and how he wanted something real, not just fleeting moments. "I don't play with hearts," he told me one night under the dim glow of streetlights. "When I love completely." I should have been more careful. I should have questioned why he was so sure of things so quickly. But I was tired of overthinking, tired of keeping my guard up. So, against my better judgment, I let myself fall. And for a while, it felt like I had finally found something real. I had no idea that behind his kind words and thoughtful gestures, a storm was waiting to shatter everything I had begun to believe in again. Arjun became the center of my world faster than I had expected. He had this way of making me feel like I was the only person who mattered, and I let myself believe it. Every morning started with his messages, sweet, thoughtful, and always making me smile. He planned surprise dates, remembered the smallest details about me, and spoke about our future like it was already set in stone. I found myself falling, deeper than I had ever intended. He would call me late at night just to hear my voice, tell me how lucky he felt to have me, and how no one had ever understood him the way I did. It was intoxicating, the kind of love that made you forget logic, ignore doubts, and silence every warning in your head. But then the little things started adding up. He was always on his phone, but never when I was around. If he got a message, he'd glance at it quickly and lock his screen, never letting me see. When I playfully asked about it, he'd laugh and say, "Just some friends, nothing important." Sometimes, he'd disappear for hours, unreachable. He always had an excuse, a sudden errand, a family issue, a friend in need. I wanted to trust him, and he gave me just enough reassurance to make me push my doubts aside. One evening, as we sat watching the city lights from a rooftop cafe, I asked him about his past relationships. He hesitated, just for a second, before saying they were never serious. "Nothing like this." His answer was smooth, almost too perfect, but I wanted to believe him. I ignored the signs because I wanted this to be real. Then came the moments that felt off, times when he would be overly affectionate, almost as if overcompensating for something. He would hold me tighter, kiss me longer, whisper things that felt too carefully chosen. I told myself I was overthinking, that my past heartbreaks were making me paranoid. But deep down, I knew. Love wasn't supposed to feel like this, so full of joy, yet tainted with unease. But I pushed the thoughts away, convincing myself that love required trust, and trust meant not questioning everything. So I stayed, loving him with everything I had, blind to the fact that he was never truly mine. The shift was subtle at first. Arjun became more distracted, his attention divided, his once endless affection turning into brief moments of presence before he'd slip away again. I told myself it was stress, that maybe he had things on his mind he wasn't ready to share. But deep inside, I felt the weight of something unspoken growing between us. Then, everything unraveled in a single moment. We were out together when his phone lit up on the table. He grabbed it quickly, but not before I caught a glimpse of the name, one I didn't recognize. His reaction was too fast, too practiced, as if he had done this before. "Just a friend," he muttered, slipping the phone into his pocket. But his voice lacked the warmth it usually carried. Doubt took hold, stronger than ever. That night, as he stepped away to take a call, I did something I had never done before. I checked his phone when he left it unattended. My hands trembled as I unlocked the screen, my heart pounding as if it already knew what I was about to find. There it was, the truth, staring back at me. Messages filled with sweet words, promises, and intimacy that didn't belong to me. Pictures, dates, and conversations spanning months. He hadn't just been seeing someone else, he had been living another life entirely. I felt the air leave my lungs. My mind raced, searching for explanations, for any way this could be a misunderstanding. But there was no misinterpreting what I saw. When he returned, I looked up at him, phone in hand. He froze, his face shifting from surprise to something unreadable. "Explain this," I demanded, my voice steadier than I felt. For a moment, he didn't speak. Then, with a sigh, he muttered, "I didn't want to hurt you," as if that made it better. Anger surged through me. "You didn't want to hurt me, so you lied? So you made me believe I was the only one." He ran a hand through his hair, avoiding my gaze. "I love you," he said. "But I love her too." The words hit me harder than I expected. Love? He called this love. A part of me wanted to scream, to break down, to demand why I wasn't enough. But another part of me, the part that knew my worth, refused to let him see me crumble. I stood up, shoving his phone back into his hands. "You don't love either of us," I said quietly. "You only love yourself." I walked away, leaving behind the illusion I had once mistaken for love. And for the first time in months, I saw the truth clearly. I had given my heart to someone who never deserved it. The pain didn't hit all at once. It came in waves, some small, just a passing thought that made my chest tighten, and others overwhelming, crashing over me with the weight of everything I had lost. The betrayal wasn't just in his actions, but in the way he had made me believe in something that was never real. For days, I replayed every moment, searching for signs I had missed, for clues that should have warned me. They were there, hidden in the way he avoided certain questions, in the nights he was suddenly unavailable, in the moments his affection felt rehearsed. But love had made me blind, made me ignore my own instincts. He called. He texted. Apologies filled my inbox, long messages about how he never meant to hurt me, how he still loved me, how he made a mistake. He swore he had ended things with her, that he had chosen me. But I knew better now. His words, once so convincing, felt empty. I didn't respond. Blocking him wasn't easy. A part of me wanted answers, closure, something to make sense of the pain. But I realized that nothing he said would change what he had done. The only closure I needed was accepting the truth. He was never mine to begin with. The days that followed were slow. I had to unlearn the habits he had created in my life. Checking my phone for his messages, waiting for his calls, expecting his presence. It was in those quiet moments that I understood the hardest part of heartbreak. Not missing the person, but missing the version of them you thought was real. Healing wasn't instant, but it happened. I found strength in the very thing that once made me weak, the realization that I deserved more. I poured my energy into myself, into the things I had neglected while trying to hold on to him. I reconnected with old friends, picked up hobbies I had set aside, and most importantly, I stopped looking for love in places that didn't respect me. One day, I saw him again, by accident, in a crowded place. He looked at me like he expected something, maybe regret, maybe longing. But I felt nothing. Just the quiet satisfaction of knowing I had walked away from someone who would have never valued me the way I deserved. I smiled, not for him, but for myself. Because for the first time in a long time, I wasn't waiting for love to complete me. I had found it within myself. And that was something no one could ever take away.